Aloha, welcome Wave Riders. I'm Ronnie Tsunami, the Tiki Techie. Today I'm talking about SEO, search engine optimization, and I'm sure you've heard about it. It's been the buzzword for several years now. And what it refers to is the ability to take your website and optimize it so that it shows up on the first or second page of a Google or Bing or Yahoo search result. You know what I'm talking about? You know when someone types in keywords when they're looking for a product or service on the internet, they often go to the major search engines, Google, Bing, or Yahoo. Problem is, when they type it in, thousands of links to different websites show up. So they break it up into pages. If your business website doesn't show up within the first page, well, guess what? 97% of people don't look past the first page. So they're not finding your business. You're losing out on warm leads. Well, search engine optimization refers to those techniques that help your website show up on that first page. Now, out of the three different search engines, there's more than that, but the three major ones, Google, Bing, and Yahoo, Google owns at least 62% or more of the searches each month. There are 4 levels of SEO, but before I go into that, I'm going to describe it not in terms of the virtual world, but more in terms of the real world. Because it's much easier to understand marketing when you understand there's not that big a difference. Let me explain. Take your website. On the online world, you have a website, a digital website. In the physical world, you would have a building. And that building would have a big glass window in front and a street where people walk by and cars drive by. And you're in a big bustling city. So there's a bunch of stores pretty much designed like yours, square with a big window in front. You have a sign that's given to you. And on that sign, you can put keywords that describe your particular product or services and a description, like a sentence or two. You want to put some keywords in there, and you take that sign and you put it in your store window so the people walking by can see it. So as people walk by, they can see the big sign on top that's really your website address. It's on your building, and then in the storefront, in the glass, they see a sign with your keywords and description. Now, every month or so, every month, 2 months, Google, imagine a big building in the middle of the city, Google sends out robots, literally robots, that walk all the streets. And as they walk by each of the stores, they look in the window and they see the sign that you put in the window, and they write down all the information, and then they take that back to Google headquarters. At Google, they go ahead and put it in a directory, and anyone that's looking for information or looking for a particular product or service that goes to Google to find the information sees who's in that directory, and then they're pointed back to where my address is, and they come visit my store. Now here's the catch. A lot of people who start a website, have their own store, forget to fill out that card. They don't put keywords that represent what people would look for when trying to find a product or service that they deliver. In fact, sometimes they don't put anything. There's no keywords, no description. So the Google robot that comes by every month or two, and it can't come by every day because there's too many buildings that they have to go to, well, he passes by, doesn't see anything, looks at the sign at the top, which is your website address, and that's all he has to go by. He writes it down and goes back. So there's really nothing for people to see when trying to find a product or service that points them back to your store. Well, that's the first level of optimization. In fact, we call it in-page optimization. There are other things that can help that Google robot understand what your store is about. Not only does it look at the big top sign on the front of your store, which is the equivalent to your website address, but it looks at that sign that you put in the storefront. It also can peek inside your store, and we call that headings. You know, when you have text on your website, you have the top headings and then you have the text. Well, if you have keywords in those texts, imagine that as little signs that you put in your store to represent what you do. So when people walk in your store, they know this section handles this particular service or product, and this section of your store handles this particular product or service. Well, Google also records those. So the better equipped, the better labeled your business is, so that Google can read it, the better information it has to take back to the directory so that when people try to find products and services, they know exactly what it's about. And Google likes that. Google likes it when your website is very descriptive and can have that information posted, and it actually increases your ranking within the search engines, which is of course better for you. That's level 1. Level 2 search engine optimization is where we take that sign that's in the front window, and rather than just have it right there in the front window, go ahead and post that sign in other directories on the internet. In the real world, they'd be equivalent to information kiosks. You know that when you ever go to a shopping mall and you're looking for where to go in a mall or in a city, you have information kiosks. Well, guess what? We can take the information on your sign, take more information related to your business, and post it in those different directories out there. There are over 300 plus directories on the internet that you can have your website listed with your hours of operation, with a description of your products and services. Yelp, City Search, Yellow Pages, Google, of course, and all the other major search engines are included in that. Well, you have to put your sign out there, though. That's not done by itself. So that's the second level of search engine optimization. And we call that web presence, building a web presence so that people can find information related to you in high traffic areas that they go to, those information kiosks. Does your website do that right now? Do you have information about your website that's posted in other places on the internet? Okay. Now, level 3 search engine optimization is where we take that sign, again in your front window, and we put it in other stores that have complementary products or services and that would want to promote your business. So we call that backlinking. So you take your sign, copies of your sign, and we give it to, for instance, to another store, and when people go to that store and see their front window, they see, of course, the sign of that business, and then they see your sign. Well, guess what? Google sees it too. So as Google's robots are traveling around the city every month or two, if they keep seeing your sign as they're recording, they see your sign in someone else's window, it's kind of like a referral. It's like, oh, well, they're recommending this other business. So they go ahead, and that increases your relevance. That increases your score, and you go up higher in the search engine results. You want that. And some people will do it for you, but they charge for it. And we call that backlinking. Google, compared to Bing or Yahoo, Google probably loves that the most. And they score higher for backlinking. So the more stores that have your sign in the front window, the better. Now the last level that I call the paid level is very powerful because it allows you to jump. Meaning, when you do talk about search engine optimizations, you can pay for those ads. It's called pay per click. You can pay to be listed at the very top of search engine results. You see, the first 3 levels I talked about are called organic search. They organically, naturally help to increase your rankings. But that takes time. In the 4th level, it's equivalent of putting up big billboard ads out there and having people see you and be directed back to your site. Now, billboards, like in the real world, cost a lot of money, yes? And in this case, for internet marketing, you have to bid to be on those billboards, because those billboards rotate ads. So you may be on that billboard, but for a short time, it rotates, and you have to constantly keep bidding against other competitors who also want to be on those billboards. Yeah, it's a lot of money. It can be a lot of money, but it varies from market to market. For instance, your product or service in one particular city may have a lot of competitors, but in another city, it may have no competitors. So the bidding is lower. That's why when an SEO expert comes to you and says, hey, we can do SEO for you, they talk about in-page optimization, again, fixing up your store, labeling everything correctly. Then they talk about backlinking, okay, and putting it, your sign in other stores, and building the web presence for you, and having you listed in all these directories. And they can pretty much offer a flat fee. But when you talk about pay-per-click, because there's a bidding, what they'll do is say, okay, you're a store owner, how much money do you want to put towards advertising? And so you carve out a budget of how much you're willing to spend on pay-per-click advertising. And that's level 4.